Welcome back, everybody, to the next edition of AFL Timeline History. Stokes, we have made it to Madden 13.
Woo! Man, 13.
And I mentioned on the final episode of Madden 12 that something happened before Madden 13 that was my most fun experience of Madden in general, and that was the team selection process. This was the second year in a row that we'd done the lists, but instead of just revealing it on the website like we had done before, where Ridge put all the names by the helmet and told everybody to refresh, and that's how it was, we had a 2-hour team selection show hosted by Ridge, Magic, myself, and RVD. I'm going to link that show into the description on this video because it is a great listen. Another thing that happened in this particular version of Madden was the creation of connected careers. If you remember before Madden 13, it was just franchise mode where there was no salary cap unless you used League Manager. There was no XP where you could just put different attribute points on different attribute categories. It was just your guys would progress and they would, get worse over time, and you really had no control over it outside of statistical goals. So we had all that going in. I did mention the team selection show. It was a lot of fun. We were on for 2 hours. Berto called in. T-Mag called in. And it was great intrigue. And two big points came from that show. One, this was the first time that our owner list was so high of guys wanting in that we had to make hard cuts. And we didn't tell the guys who didn't get in until the show. And the way it worked out was, if you remember back in Madden 12, SJR got booted, and then we kind of patched things up over the summer, and he told us he wanted his team. And then if you remember the Madden City drama, Trump had called me over the summer and said he wanted a team. So it came down to SJR and Trump for who got the last team. And Stokes, I can't do anything without having a lot of drama. So I made the last team we announced SJR's team. So Trump sat in chat for 2 hours only to find out he didn't get a team. I felt really bad about it because I knew he was a quality owner. But it turned out that our old guy Drop had some stuff come up, and Trump got his spot before we even kicked off. And ever since then, Trump and SJR have been two of our best owners, and we have patched up that relationship. It's great. I'm glad that Trump and us and Costa and Rilo all got back on the same page. The Madden City thing was squashed. Trump decided at this point that he wanted to just be an owner, so Madden City pretty much died off. He didn't want to be a commissioner anymore, and he just wanted to be an owner. He's been one of our best owners ever since. So Stokes, on we go to Madden 13. We have the connected franchise. We had a radio show before the season started where we actually did a live broadcast of our free agent draft, where we announced all the picks. People would private message them to us, and we would announce it. So it was a lot of fun. The radio show was really expanding. And then we get to the game. And as you can see on this page, Stokes, Dom wins Super Bowl 1. And the reason why it's interesting to get your viewpoint on this is you and Dom played for the right to go to Super Bowl 1 of Madden 13. This is actually Super Bowl 11. Do you have any memories of that Raiders-Bills game?
I remember going into that game, his offense was super high powered. He traded for Peyton Manning because he was only going to get 1 year out of him, I believe. And it was I think it came down to him putting together a drive near the end of the game to get to the Super Bowl, and he obviously made it happen. And I think wasn't he undefeated or something like that? I tend to think that.
I feel like he was undefeated. What I remember about this in particular with Dom was, so a lot of times we have the debate about what's a good Madden player. Is somebody who's good at the game early on, are they a good Madden player? Some people say yes because it means they haven't found the tricks yet and they just use Madden concepts. And you could even say that with someone like Shadow winning a Super Bowl early on down the line, which we'll discuss. In this case, Dom's a good Madden player. I'm not taking anything away, but he found a trick that none of the rest of us knew at this point. If you remember about Madden 13, there's one thing about it that didn't work. Man coverage, press, didn't work on the left side. Also, the fade pattern where the wide receiver kind of cuts out and then goes up would just roast coverage. Remember that, Stokes, in Madden 13, where
Yes.
you could do a left side fade and there was no press all you had to do was inside lead it, and it was almost impossible to cover unless you usered it?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. That was very devastating.
Well, Dom figured that out before anybody else. This was way before we were making everybody stream games. So he was putting up 45, 50 points a game. Nobody knew how to stop him, and he rolled all the way to the Super Bowl. Let's go through the playoffs, though, because another thing I remember is we got the Super Bowl done in 2 nights. Stop Cheese and I played in a wild card game. Everybody else had played their wild card games the night before. Stop Cheese and I played a wild card game that night when I got home from work. He won in overtime. Brandon Banks fumbled the kickoff return. I'm still mad at him about that. And then Stop Cheese goes on to play Prime's Falcons in the second round. Then later that night he plays Goof's Cardinals in the third round, wins in overtime. And then Stop Cheese and Dom kick off the Super Bowl. So Cheese played 4 games in one night. Pretty impressive.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think it's something that we will see anymore because, well, not especially not with Cheese now that he's older, he's got kids and all that other good stuff. So, I mean, it's awesome that happened. It's just unfortunate that we're getting older and all that other stuff.
So the division winners, we had Stokes' Bills, we had Ridge's Ravens, Westside Charles Houston Texans, and Dom's Oakland Raiders. We had Stop Cheese's New York Giants, Joker's Green Bay Packers, Prime's Atlanta Falcons, and Goof's Arizona Cardinals. Moxie and Hadley, the wild cards in the AFC. Myself and K. Will, the wild cards in the NFC. Stokes, there were some interesting outcomes in this playoff bracket, but I'm going to go right to the second round. Bills, Ravens. Your Bills send Ridge home in the playoffs. And this, to me, was chapter 1 of the best part about all of Madden 13, the Ridge-Stokes rivalry.
It's one of my most fun, during Madden is the fact that we were constantly winning our division, so we would play each other in the regular season, and then more often than not, we would see each other in the postseason. So it was a lot of fun, and this was just the beginning of that. And it was also a carryover from Madden 12 when we played each other in 2 Super Bowls. This was a very, very fun time in my life, and I'm happy that I was able to be a part of this rivalry, because if he was just whooping me every time, it wouldn't be much of one. But we would go back and forth, and that's what made it so great.
So you got the best of him season 1. You go on to play Dom's Raiders and fall in the AFC title game. At this point, it almost kind of set up like a Madden 11 Josh Ridge SJR conference where it felt like the big 3 in that conference. Whoever came out of that was almost destined to win the Super Bowl. And that's what happened this time, as Dom's Raiders eke out a close win over Cheese's New York Giants. And we mentioned along the way, Cheese beat Goof's Cardinals to get to that Super Bowl. So, guys, that is a look at Madden 13 Season 1, and we'll be back with Madden 13 Season 2 on AFL Timeline History.